According to a report by Garchild, 88% of teens have seen someone be mean or cruel to another person on social media platforms. These days, the internet has evolved into a massive forum in which negativity and hatred are prominent, causing harrowing effects to people's mental health. Hello, my name is Bamgbelu, and I will be presenting my automated solution to this modern problem. Genie, the machine learning powered sentiment analysis generator. But before we begin, I will first present the table of contents, or the things that I will discuss during this presentation. The first of which will be our problem. Then I will follow into the existing solutions to this problem, my automated solution to this problem. Then I will go through the development process I went to create the solution. After that, I will focus on the difficulties I experienced in creating the solution and the things that I wish to improve about my solution made. And finally, I'll finish off with an appreciation to my mentor who's helped me throughout this entire process, giving me crucial feedback to the completion of my project. And I'll finally finish off with a conclusion, which will entail me thanking my audience and asking for questions. But first we have the problem. In its most rudimentary form, the problem is negativity found on social media. This is a two-part issue, as whilst there is an astonishing amount of negative comments and content being posted to social media platforms almost every day, there is a problem with moderation, and most specifically, inefficient moderation being used to combat this problem. The main problem isn't necessarily negative comments being uploaded, but rather the current methods of moderation being disproportionate and ineffective in combating the amount of negative comments being uploaded to social media platforms. As can be seen here, with the example of soccer star Thierry Henry, who recently quit social media due to the online abuse that he had been receiving recently. This pattern has been followed by another soccer star, Reading captain Mia Moore, who deactivated his Twitter over his toxic online abuse that he received after a loss. So here we have our existing solutions. There are two main existing solutions that have been employed to combat this problem in the past. The first of which would be manual moderation, which is most famously used by social media platform Facebook. Manual moderation entails a social media platform or company hiring people to manually sift through content and ensure that the content complies with the terms of service and is not too negative to be uploaded to their social media platform. The problem with this method is that it is both financially and in practice inefficient, as the amounts of workers being hired are disproportionate to the amount of content that is being uploaded to these networks on a daily basis. The result of which is that there's a mass amount of negative social media content still being uploaded to social media every day. Additionally, our second solution here, our existing solution here, is distributed moderation. Distributed moderation is a method employed by social media platforms such as 4chan, and Reddit. The problem with this form of moderation is that, this form of moderation entails a social media company placing an enhanced trust in its users to moderate their own platforms. I mean, who else than the users that are found on these platforms to moderate, or who know the mores enough to moderate their own platform? However, the problem with this form of moderation is that often giving so much trust to users could enable them to use it in maligned ways, such as been found on bad subreddits or maligned 4chan. So my solution to this problem would be a web application powered by Streamlit that allows both users and social media content moderators to effectively use a machine learning generator to gauge the sentiment of negativity found on social media in the form of basic text and keywords found on Twitter. The first feature of this would be that it's automated. This means that it uses machine learning based libraries in Python. The second main feature of this would be that it has an enhanced ease of use, meaning that it will be easy to use for both users and content moderators found on social media platforms. Finally, it would have relative accuracy as it is based off a trained database in the naive Bayes classifier. So, onto our demo. As you can see here, we have the title and the basic description. Here, if a user were to enter basic text found on anywhere on a social media platform, such as the comment section of an Instagram post, they could post into this box here and then click the generate sentiment button to receive a JSON package that would reveal whether this sentiment was positive and quantify it using polarized numbers. This is followed in my Twitter functionality, which allows the user to enter a keyword that my program will query in Twitter and then aggregate the sentiment of tweets containing that keyword. After clicking the generate sentiment button, of course. Here, in our demo continued, we can see this in practice. After, in the basic text functionality, of course, after the user entered I love video games, the sentiment was overwhelmingly positive. This is based off the trained database that gauged that such a statement as I love video games is a positive statement. A statement that I agree with is quite positive, and I think many of which people would agree with is quite positive. This, after on the Twitter sentiment functionality, you can also see that after inputting the term Arsenal, after they lost the game, the sentiment was overwhelmingly negative. And this is, of course, because the players had a poor performance, which resulted in them losing a game. Now, on to the development process. The first step in my development process was identifying a problem and gauging whether my automated solution would be an efficient, compared to the previous solutions, an efficient way to solve this problem. This is a factor that I deemed was true. Then I went on to the planning stage of my solution. In this section, I drafted a UML, which is a universal markup language used for programmers to see the entirety of their program and to plan out efficiently what they have to do in order to create their program, and also plan the libraries I would use in creating my program. Finally, I created a prototype or basic minimum viable product of my solution, which was the basic text functionality. And after that, I deployed my program onto a web server, Heroku Cloud Application platform, so that people across the World Wide Web could see my product and use it. Now, here we are with the difficulties I experienced and the things that I would wish to improve about my product. Here, one of the first difficulties I experienced was in deployment. Deployment is the process in which I take my program on my computer and put it onto a web server so people across the world can view it. The problem I had here was dealing with dependencies, which are dependencies are the package that contains the libraries I used in order to create my program. I needed to put this on the web server so that the web server would be able to run my program. The problem here is that I didn't do this, and in future steps I'll plan to do this. Then I experienced bugs and errors, as any programmer would, and finally, one thing that I'll do to improve my product would be to display tweets. The reason why I did not do that in this presentation was because I was afraid of inappropriate tweets showing up. Finally, I'd like to say a big thanks to Dr. Sekos for helping me throughout this entire process. He works at the University of Houston, and without him, I would not be able to conclude this or to achieve this. And then finally, I want my audience to remember that 88% of teens have seen someone be mean or cruel to someone on social media platforms. With my solution, I believe an automated approach would effectively solve this. Thank you for listening.